Live, Laugh, Larceny discusses true petty crimes that may be disturbing to some.
Or could be easy listening to all you psychopaths out there.
All stories are based on actual events, but details may vary.
Listener discretion is not advised.
Live,
Laugh.
Larceny. Welcome to Live, Laugh, Larceny, where the worst ideas make the best stories. This is Trevin.
And I'm Amanda. Isn't that the damn truth?
Yes, especially in Florida.
Another Florida February episode. I hope you all enjoyed last week. We have more for you.
Yes, we do. Florida is the gift that keeps on giving.
Always. So, Trevin.
Yes.
Before we dive into another wacky Florida week, what is your dreadful dilemma?
My dreadful dilemma this week has to do with my lover, my piece on the side, ChatGPT.
Oh my God. I was like, how dare you call Emily a side piece?
Oh, no. It's ChatGPT, my friend and confidant.
Wow.
Person who hears me through all my dumbest ideas and tells me, hey, there's too much exposition in this story, Buster. I recently saw, I think it was on a Reddit of some sort. It was like, oh, hey, if you're a person who uses ChatGPT a lot, put this prompt in and see what you get back.
Oh, no.
Basically, what you're asking ChatGPT to do is to look past all the stuff that you've put in and kind of just get an idea of like, what do you think about me? So my prompt that I told ChatGPT is, after all the time you've been working with me on ideas and stories, what is something you can tell about me that I may not know about myself?
Deep.
Yeah.
And did ChatGPT respond?
ChatGPT gave me 2 paragraphs. And would you like to hear what my soulmate has to say about me after all of my petty crime ideas and bad grammar?
Yes, please.
Okay, here we go. One thing that stands out is your gift for blending humor with human flaws in a way that makes people feel seen and understood. You create characters who, despite their ridiculous decisions or petty actions, have a relatable spark that's both funny and slightly tragic. This mix suggests that, more than just being funny, you have a deep understanding of the quirks, dualities, and vulnerabilities that make us human. You seem drawn to exploring the line between our best intentions and worst impulses, often pointing out the small but universal, quote, crimes we all commit in the pursuit of acceptance, happiness, or relief from boredom. It's almost as if your stories are playful invitations for listeners to laugh at themselves, to admit their own quirks and faults, and to feel a little lighter about them. So maybe what you don't realize is how much empathy you're putting out into the world. Under all the jokes and parody, there's a warm-hearted perspective that appreciates the messiness of being human.
Oh my God.
Do you know how many dates I went through in my life to hear that?
How many stories do you think ChatGPT has read of yours at this point? A decent amount.
I probably jumped in around probably the same time I started doing videos, so probably about 100, I would say.
Holy shit. That is a beautiful representation.
Yeah, wasn't that sweet? Because I do think that is true. Like, I have a very tragic outlook on things, but also...
But you can at least laugh.
There's a wholesome side to it, too, because I don't think all hope is lost. I just think everything's sad. We can laugh at it and work to do better.
Oh my God. Wow. I don't think anyone could have said it better than that robot friend of yours.
Yeah. I just imagine that being a handwritten note in cursive just handed to me over a bottle of wine with like smooth saxophone in the background.
Oh my God. Game over.
Oh, chatty boy.
The panties be dropping.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Well, I feel kind of dreadful from your dreadful dilemma just because I know I'll never be able to compliment you just as well as ChatGPT.
No, you really won't. But my dilemma is that ChatGPT knows me better than I know myself.
Truly. Well, I had a dreadful dilemma. that I was going to discuss. I'm going to discuss it eventually, but something happened just last night, and I think that it needs to skip the line.
Oh, yes. What happened last night?
So, last night was your wife's 30th birthday party.
Yes, my lovely wife that you've heard so much about. It turned 30. If any of you follow her art account, Bread and Butthole, go ahead and give her a comment and tell her happy birthday late, because this is coming out afterwards.
Yes, it is. But we celebrated, and she had a cozy, comfy, and cute pajama party.
Yep.
And we all came in our PJs, and it was just really a lovely time through and through. Cute kitty decorations, good snacks, good people, good vibes.
And the pizza, I took a chance and bought pizza from this pizza place that's local to me that I've literally never tried before. And I just thought, let's put the whole party on their back and see what happens. And it actually ended up being really good.
It was really good.
That bacon on top of that pizza?
Dude. And there was like pesto on the one I tried.
Oh, the chicken Alfredo pizza?
So good.
Hey.
So all of that was great. But my husband Jordan and I, we took two different paths on how we were going to dress for the pajama party.
Oh, yes, you did.
So I picked out a cute hot pink fleece long sleeve pant pajama set that had tacos on it and peppers on it. I love a taco. What can I say? It fit me through and through.
And you love being pink and bright.
Yes.
It looked a little warm, though, for my taste.
It was very warm. I'm glad that I actually tied it up like a little crop top because I got some air and some relief.
Yeah.
But Jordan took another route where he was like, I'm kicking it old school. I want to dress as an old-fashioned, like, Scrooge man with a beige, old-fashioned moo-moo with, like, a little...
floppy sleeping cap.
Yes, and a sleeping cap, and it came with glasses, and it came with a candlestick and a candle holder.
Yes.
I'm telling you this, it's valid. I have to explain his attire for this to make sense. The party was great, and the dreadful dilemma has nothing to do with that. It happened after we got home.
Oh, I didn't expect that. I thought it was going to be something about how he was acting or something.
No.
Acting a damn fool.
No. When we got home, I walked into the kitchen and I was like, oh my God, Jordan, you told me you were going to be taking this trash out before the party and you never did. Like, thank goodness the dogs didn't get into this, you know? And both of us had a time, okay? We had drank a little, we had puffed a little. We were like parents' night out, okay?
You guys were playing Family Feud on my Switch upstairs, which I was trying to juggle all the different people at the party to talk to, but I heard you guys just screaming, and everybody I would talk to would be like, that's a rowdy game of Family Feud going on. All I heard was the noise, but it seemed like a good time.
It was so fun. So when we got home, we were, a little intoxicated, having some fun. And I was like, oh my God, the trash. Like, can you take it out? And the weather has been very cold. Oof. We just recovered from a blizzard, but the temps are like very cold here. He was like, okay, I'll take it out right now. So he went and he grabbed the bag of trash and he ran outside in his old-fashioned moo-moo.
Hell yeah.
And I should have said this first, pause and reverse. Right when we got home, I heard somebody outside, which is kind of weird because it's so cold and it was so late. We got home like at midnight or something.
Did he run into Bob and Martha in their old-fashioned moo-moos?
That would be iconic. Anyway, I just want it to be known that there could have been someone out there, like in the distance, like a neighbor kind of far away. But still, I heard someone. So I was like, oh, weird. So he goes in, gets the trash, runs outside. And as soon as he goes outside, he doesn't have his coat on anymore. It's just the old-fashioned moo-moo. And I don't even think he had his cap on. Maybe I just should shut up and let you watch the video that my Ring camera captured. He makes a sound and he sprints, and it was so fucking funny to me because if somebody saw him from a distance, they probably thought he was like an old-fashioned haunted ass ghost.
Yeah, the ghost of Christmas Past or something.
And so in the video, you'll see how it goes, and then at the end, listen for my cackling.
Walking cool.
I ended up laughing so hard that I cried and I fell to the ground. And the puppies didn't know what was wrong with me and they were licking my laughing tears. But that happened. And that's the kind of shit I have to deal with at my household. I was like, people probably think our house is haunted.
Jordan's going to be the woman in white that everybody says was like a scorned lover or something with a mustache.
I was like, why would you go out there in that outfit and make that sound?
It had to have been at least like close to midnight, right? Or after?
Yes. If anyone was like, what was that? And they peeked out and see freaking the ghost
Scrooge,
of Christmas
yeah.
past roaming through.
Screaming, and he should have took the candle for heat and light.
But I died. He didn't think it was as funny as I did when he came in. You know, you hear him say, it's fucking cold, and I'm just dying. Well, I ended up falling to the ground, and he's like, what? What? I'm like, do you not know how that probably looked to the neighbors, you fucking weirdo?
You know what time it is, dude? This is why we can't be in the neighborhood with the sidewalk.
This is why we will never be allowed in an HOA.
Yeah.
So, on to Fast Florida, Trevin.
Oh, yeah, I hear it.
As Trevin explained, for the month of February, we are going to be hitting you all with an additional Florida crime, something that made a good headline, but didn't have enough information to make into a full story. Just an extra treat for everybody.
Yeah, we want Florida to be special for all other than just being from Florida.
So I am coming from Fox13News.com in Tampa Bay, Florida. I really wanted to originally tell this in a story, but you guys, the amount of information is startlingly low. Is startlingly a word? Probably not. It's very fucking low. Yeah. And so there was just no way.
That's why I felt like this was just such an easy segment to put together, just because that's such the sad thing about our jobs, you guys, is we want to give you all these great stories, but we want to be truthful to it. And sometimes you just can't make a story the way you want with the limited truth you get.
Exactly. If I were going to connect dots, I would just have to go out on such a damn limb that I didn't want it to fall and break on me, you know?
Yeah.
So this is the headline. Cartwheeling Orlando man attempts to evade arrest.
Ooh.
Obviously, it's attention-grabbing. Cartwheeling? Say what?
Yeah, like, and was he like continuously cartwheeling like the whole time, or was it just like one really good one?
Here, I'll just read this article, and if it doesn't explain the video, I will. So, a 40-year-old man who was allegedly blocking traffic in Orlando, Florida by doing gymnastics in the road was caught on video Tuesday, July 21st of 2020, attempting to evade arrest by cartwheeling away from police. This video, shared by Olivier Francois,
I like that,
shows the man in the path of a truck at a Wawa in Orlando. So basically, a Wawa is a store that's kind of like...
Isn't it like a convenience store?
Yes, kind of like a convenience store, but with like a little bit of extra stuff. At one point, the man lies down in the middle of the roadway. Orange County Sheriff's Department officers attempted to detain the man, who freed himself, performs another cartwheel, and then is again detained by police. According to the sheriff's office, the gymnast, Gianfranco Fernandez, was charged with battery on a law enforcement officer and resisting arrest. Do you want to see the video, Trevin?
Battery just for doing the cartwheels?
I think where the battery comes to play is that he's cartwheeling, and then when they're trying to put the handcuffs on him, he's like kind of putting up a fight.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So let me show you this.
Cool. And he's like kicking. And
he kicked his leg, did a little flip. There was so much to this. You get the point. But the reason, you guys, why I didn't want to do the story, I mean, I wanted to, don't get me wrong, but I felt like I couldn't because I have literally zero information of why. Like, was he on drugs? Was he going through a mental health crisis? Was he mad at not making the gymnastic team when he was young and so he had to perform for a dump truck? I literally have zero. So I was like, I don't want to make assumptions, but it is funny and fun.
Yeah, sometimes with these stories, you just need that one extra detail. If it would have said something like he had a tattoo of this, we would have taken that and been like, that's exactly enough to build a personality now. Gymnastics, tattoo of this. And then it's just
Right.
like we would just do that. But yeah, we do kind of get stuck when you don't have anything except for just an act sometimes.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun things I could say. I don't know. For example, I don't have much for my crime today. However, I did have some criminal records from the past to reflect on. They also got a comment from the person I'm going to be talking about. So it's like, this guy, I have no comments. I have nothing from him. And that made me feel really weird about doing it. But how ridiculous was that?
I love that. For anybody who's just listening and don't see like a TikTok or something, he does do a bunch of slow cartwheels in the middle of the road, even stops and does a couple little jazzy kicks, and eventually lays down on his back, takes his hat off, and flings it towards his feet in the same direction of the dump truck that he's blocking. In my head, while watching, I'm hearing da 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 da. So yeah, he's just really feeling himself, and it kind of gave me like Joker vibes. Like in his head, he's hearing some pretty cool music.
Ooh, yes. Also, not only does he do cartwheels and kicks, but there were multiple times where he paused and like threw his hands up in the air and posed. Like, you know, when gymnasts finish a move and they put their hands up.
Yeah.
Like, I landed it. He was like so proud of himself.
And he didn't look like a typical gymnast type,
No.
but they were calling him a gymnast because he owned that shit.
He owned it. He was a performer through and through. So, Trevin,
Yes.
you want to do some Florida top fives?
Florida February top fives. How wacky could it get?
I mean, throw another F in there and see what happens.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Top 5.
So today, I am going to be sharing with you all the top 5 bizarre Florida laws.
Okay, there's got to be some good ones in Florida, I'm sure.
So many good ones. And you know, this is something I've actually covered in the past. I think I did like 2 Truths and a Lie a long time back about silly laws. It's always been something that fascinated me. This was something, though, that if you just Google bizarre Florida laws, I realized after doing some research that there are a lot of things out there that pop up on these like listicle things that actually aren't true.
Oh my God, yes. Kind of like we had the one from last week about the alligator through the Wendy's, and it's like we don't actually know the date of it.
Yes. I don't know if some of them are just these fables that have been told over time or what it is, or maybe there was a discussion of them being a law, but it never actually passed. I don't know. But I had to do a lot of fact checking because things would pop up and I'd be like, I'm just going to Google this one thing by itself. And then I would get, a lot of people say that, but there's no proof. There's no whatever.
See? Journalistic integrity.
Seriously, I really do try my best. I don't want people being like, that has never been a law. Get out of here.
1 star.
Yes. This is a list, obviously, I compiled from after fact checking everything. Which ones did I think were the most bizarre? So it's obviously my opinion too. So number 5, it is illegal in Florida to sing in a swimsuit. Did you know that?
I actually did just run into this one and see this today when I was looking up some stuff for Florida stuff.
Oh my God. I'm shocked. I was surprised to see this because the very first time I ever sang karaoke was on vacation when I was like 11 or 12. And I was in Florida at a hotel with a pool. And I sang in a swimsuit in Florida at a pool.
Oh my God. You just incriminated yourself in front of millions of listeners and viewers on whatever app we're on now.
Do not arrest me. Maybe the statute of limitations has passed.
I hope so.
Number 4, women and salon owners can be fined for a woman falling asleep under a hairdryer.
Whoa. Didn't know that one.
Very weird and specific, no?
I wonder if they keep coffee on hand.
They're like, I know what will help. Fill these women with some caffeine. Why don't you?
It's not just for you. It's for me.
What if they go up now and they like ring bells in all their ears when they're sitting under them?
Or they just like ring the inside of the little dryer hoop thing.
I actually didn't do a lot of digging into why they were. I don't know if someone's hair caught on fire, but very weird.
Always something from a long time ago.
Number 3, it's illegal to fish while driving across a bridge.
Okay. It should be illegal to fish while driving in general, I think.
You would think, but Florida has a lot of water in it.
Yeah, and you don't want to miss it.
Yeah, that kind of didn't prove my point at all.
No.
But multitasking, right? Like maybe you have somewhere to go, but you think if you cast a line over the bridge, maybe you can catch a trout for dinner. I don't know.
And I'm a big fan of multitasking.
There you go. See, I knew you would understand. But it's very bizarre. Number 2, ice cream trucks can't sell their wares in cemeteries. Honestly, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that definitely feels like one of those rules where there's probably a story that led to that.
There was probably a funeral, and then it was like na 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 na, and they're just like, fucking excuse you. But then a few people probably went over and like got a fucking
Drumstick,
like a
or something.
dilly bar. Yeah, they're like, oh, I love you, but I really want a sweet treat.
Maybe that was the thing. They came and they were getting so much business that one of the people that were working the cemetery were tired of trying to put on serious funerals while everybody has ice cream stains on their good suits.
It would be hard to do.
He's like, I told you guys, quit buying ice cream before we bury these people.
Awful. And are you ready for number 1?
Yes.
Okay, so luckily, I just want to preface this one by saying it was struck down from being an actual law in the year 2005.
Oh.
But in my opinion, it was by far the most bizarre law from Florida that I heard. And I saw a lot of them, okay? Number 1, unmarried women are prohibited from parachuting on Sunday.
Now, I wonder how many times that actually comes back to like screw things up on people's vacations or something.
They're like,
No can do, ma'am.
got a ring on it? I don't think so.
Nope.
It's the Lord's Day, you unmarried hag! You cannot jump from this plane!
I just picture one of those dudes behind the counter, like looking at a magazine with his feet up and not really paying you any attention and just being like, sign. And then it just says no women. Like,
So, like, the married women could go parachuting on Sunday, but I guess just unmarried women. And then, like, what's a woman? At what age are they a woman? 18 and up?
yeah.
Do they have to get married that young?
Can a girl who is being unwed parachute on a Sunday?
So many questions, but luckily we don't have to fret about it anymore because in 2005 it was taken out.
And that's probably because a Karen got told that she couldn't parachute on Sunday.
And honestly, that could be one time that I'm okay with someone being a Karen.
Yeah. I feel a little closer to Florida after that.
Same.
And I can't believe we found yet another crime of yours.
I know. I'm just out here confessing all my sins.
Well, this week I have a top 5 for you, and I'm keeping it in Florida, of course. But there's a special place in Florida that people like to flock to. A place that I didn't even go, but because I was at a resort where other people were going, it still just overtook everything. And that's the magical little world of Disney.
Yes.
So I want to give you my top 5 facts on Disney World.
Perfect.
And they're not really in any particular order. They're all kind of found by me, and I just think they're all something worth talking about.
Okay.
So number 5. A woman in Florida had a Disney World magic band implanted into her arm. Magic bands are used to keep track of purchases, room keys, and tickets. They now have a not intended for subdermal use warning.
What?
I was reading a blog called touringplans.com, and somebody was talking about how they were trying to implant different chips to make it easier until they had found that a different woman had done it successfully and it actually worked.
Where do you even go to get a procedure such as this?
That's what a lot of people were wondering too. They might have said it. I know the blog kind of went in a little more detail of it, but they were actually getting too much in the nitty gritty because they were talking about failed attempts to try to make a good chip to work.
Oh my God.
And I thought, whoa, I don't want to know how it's made.
Yeah,
I wanted some fast
please.
facts. I should have asked ChatGPT to find the good parts for me. Number 4. Walt Disney used shell companies to acquire the land in Orlando that would eventually be Disney World. They called it the Florida Project, and he had a bunch of different companies buying up the land so that he could eventually piece it together.
Was he afraid that the good people of Florida would hate it and not want it there? Is that why he was being so secretive, I wonder?
I don't really know. I bet there's probably a really good book on it or something. I think it might have been illegal maybe to own that much. So he had to do it in pieces and then
He was
acquire
doing
it all.
something sketchy. If it was totally above board, why not just do it?
Exactly. I'll give you this little bit here. It says in 1964, this secret group began acquiring many parcels of land in Central Florida. This was Walt Disney's Florida Project, which later became Walt Disney World. The members of the close-knit group did not use their real names, creating a huge mystery about who is behind these large land acquisitions.
Sounds sus to me.
It always is. Number 3, in 1967, Florida passed a bill which would allow Disney to build their own nuclear power plant. Walt Disney understood that the park was going to be large and wanted the rights to build a nuclear power plant if needed, and they still can.
No, don't do it.
Some people talk about that. I think it's called like World of Tomorrow or something. They wanted to build like a little town. I don't know. They talked about like a utopia of some sort. And I guess they wanted to have the ability to make nuclear power if they needed to.
I just don't find that to be necessary.
I don't. But when you're trying to build the perfect world, no matter how unethical. Number 2, Disney World has virtually no mosquitoes. Something you might love about this place.
Sign me up. Can I live there?
Despite being in a swampy territory, they have a special security system that eliminates them very quickly.
What?
So I'm coming from Mental Floss. The park has something called Mosquito Surveillance Program to manage it all. There are carbon dioxide traps everywhere, and once they catch bugs, the team at Disney freezes and analyzes the population to determine how best to eradicate them. Interestingly enough, they also employ the use of chickens. These sentinel chickens, as they're called, live in coops all over Disney World. While these feathered employees are going about their daily life, their blood is being monitored for mosquito-borne diseases like West Nile. Lucky for the chickens, they don't get sick from the virus, but if they do pick it up, the Disney team knows where in the park they got it from, so they can deliver a swift blow to the mosquitoes in that area.
Whew. That is very high tech.
Yeah, well thought out.
Honestly, this is something that I can appreciate. Yes, put all that money into getting rid of the mosquitoes at the park and not into nuclear power plants.
Yeah, and also, like, that's a great and well thought out idea when all these big corporations are buying our country out from under us and employing ideas to help the country. Why aren't they coming up with, like, a chicken system to help with not spreading West Nile in the world and stuff?
Yes.
Instead of just how to take my money. And number 1, Disney World is about 5 kilometers larger than Paris and is almost double the size of Manhattan. It is also the second largest purchaser of explosives in the U.S. Number 1 is the Department of Defense.
Okay.
And that's just because of all of the fireworks.
Fireworks. Okay. So I have actually been to Disney World. It's been a very long time for me, but they did shoot a ton of fireworks off around the castle when we were there. It was like around Christmas time. But the second largest... Like, you're telling me that they buy more explosives than, like, professional football teams and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, they got to put on these shows, like, daily.
I mean, it's a good point, but so weird to actually think about.
I thought I had read $50,000 a week, but I had an article from the Boardwalk Times called How Much Cash Does It Really Take to Put on a Disney Fireworks Spectacular? Probably not going to get into it, but Boardwalk Times has a great article if you guys want more information on it.
Wow. You would think that the fireworks would also scare the mosquitoes.
Yeah, I know, so much smoke in there.
Yeah, they're like, oh, what the hell?
I'm getting frozen and getting ran by chickens, running through smoke. If they're smart enough, they'll just know not to go.
Yeah, exactly. Mosquitoes go around Disney World. Well, something that mosquitoes can't ruin for us all today are these ads.
Bzz, bzz.
And we are back, and I am telling my Florida story first this week.
I'm loving where these are going. Last week was a good time, and I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. I'm excited to see what Florida brings today.
Same. So like I told you earlier, I found it a little bit more challenging to find this story, but when I finally found it, I knew that it was the one. Unfortunately, this is one where there wasn't a ton of information, like I said earlier, as to the context of the crime. I did have to go off a small amount, but I still felt like there was enough that I could easily connect the dots. But of course, there are a few more embellishments on this one just because I had to go there, okay?
Hell yeah, embellishment heavy in Florida February.
So here we go. Have you ever stepped inside a seafood restaurant only to be greeted by a tank filled with live lobsters? I know I certainly have experienced this horror before. As their little black eyes looked at me through the glass, I found myself wondering what the poor bastards were thinking about. Did they know they were about to be cooked, cracked, and devoured by sloppy human mouths, living in fear as each of their lobster comrades were snatched from their water cage? Or were they pleasantly naive about their current situation, focusing instead on the lobster love triangles that formed inside the rectangle-shaped tank?
Don't be shellfish and tell me you think he's more clawsome than me.
It's not like that with him. We only shared a little seaweed.
Today's Florida-based crime is filled with more questions than crustaceans. But be warned, for this lobster tale may leave you feeling extra salty. Nichole Ann Reed was a 30-year-old hustler living in DeLand, Florida in 2014. Being a Florida woman was a tough feat. She had to have thick skin for the powerful sun rays and the harsh criticism from the other locals.
Look at that Floridian walking around.
Nichole was known as a bit of a troublemaker, having a disorderly conduct and a few battery charges on her record. Those closest to her also knew that she never had much money. Yet, Nichole never let that fact slow her down. She found creative ways to barter with everyone in her life. Instead of rent money, Nichole trimmed the claws of her landlord's 12 cats.
Hold still, Mr. Puss.
Rather than paying for a bus ticket, she would flash the elderly male driver. Additionally, she would regularly take her drug dealer to a Chinese buffet in lieu of paying cash for her stash. Although her deals weren't typical, Nichole found a way to make everyone happy, including herself. The weather was extra muggy one June day when Nichole realized she had run out of her fun pills. Knowing her bank account was also depleted, she dialed up her drug dealer, One Nut Tony, to make a deal.
What do you need, Nichole?
One Nut Tony gruffed into his cell. Hey, buddy, my stash is out, and I was hoping to meet up. How about some Chinese food for lunch? Nichole suggested with enthusiasm.
We've eaten Chinese a lot lately. So much so that my ma says I permanently reek of soy sauce. Plus, my doctor says if I have one more crab rangoon, I could lose my last nut.
Whoa. Okay, I'm sure we can figure something else out. Anything else you've been hungry for, big guy? Just name it, and I can make it happen. The drug dealer paused, pondering all the food options and their worth.
You know, I've been feeling like the Chinese food costs much less than the pills I'd get you. So I'm thinking of something a bit nicer for today's meal.
Nichole gulped into her receiver. Oh, yeah? What's that? One Nut Tony again paused for dramatic effect before stating,
Lobster, and lots of it.
Nichole wrapped up the phone call with One Nut Tony.
Hey, bye.
And flung herself back onto her bed. Affording any restaurant with lobster on the menu was out of the question. So she decided it was time to make her way to the local Publix supermarket. Once inside the bustling store, Nichole simply breathed in to find the seafood section. The smell of fresh fish, shrimp, and crab guided her through the produce and the bakery until she found it. There, in front of her, with only a glass divider between them, lay the perfect lobster tails on ice. That is, until she glanced over at the price tag next to it. For a moment, she stood there in a trance, thinking of ways to barter for the seafood. Only each and every suggestion her brain came up with was creepy at best.
I'll give you a picture of my feet for some lobster tails.
Suddenly, Nichole's daze was interrupted by a store employee from behind the counter.
How may I assist you today?
The clerk's loud and enthusiastic voice caused Nichole's body to jump.
Oh, I was thinking about getting some of those lobster tails. Do I pay for those back here or up at the front?
Nichole asked the employee as a nasty plan started to form in her mind.
After I weigh these, I'll attach a barcode to the package and you can pay up front, sweetheart.
Nichole let out a mischievous grin before responding with,
I'll take 7, please.
The clerk wrapped up 7 lobster tails for Nichole, attaching the barcode sticker as promised. She thanked the employee.
You've been more help than you know.
And walked away with the package of seafood. Nichole then walked up and down a few aisles, looking for an empty row for phase 2 of her plan. Finally, with no other people in sight, she ripped off the barcode and opened up the package of frozen lobster tails. One by one, she grabbed the icy shellfish butts and shoved them deep into her baggy denim shorts. The frigid temperature of the lobsters caused a sharp shiver to run up her legs and crotch. Nichole knew she couldn't take the feeling much longer and needed to leave before she turned any crabbier. Searching frantically for the store exit, she finally spotted her escape. Nichole shimmied her frozen limbs as best as she could, discarding the original wrapping on a nearby shelf. With each step, her heart became more hopeful and her legs became number. She was just feet from the front doors now, the smell of the lobster slowly thawing out in her skin, growing stronger. Just as the sliding door started to open, Nichole heard a store employee yell after her.
Have a nice day!
She had made it. That is, until 1 hour later. On Wednesday, June 11th of 2014, a loss prevention officer was watching surveillance footage in a DeLand, Florida Publix supermarket. Around 1:57 p.m. that day, the officer noticed something suspicious on one of the cameras. It captured a woman, later identified as 30-year-old Nichole Ann Reed, stuffing 7 frozen lobster tails down the front of her long denim shorts. Footage then showed the woman walking out of the supermarket without paying. An arrest report states that almost an hour later, Nichole was located on Holly Oak Drive, where police brought a Publix employee to identify her. Nichole admitted to police that she had entered the store with the intention of stealing the lobster tails by hiding them in her pants. She said she was going to trade the lobsters to a friend and get a Chinese buffet or the opioid medication Dilaudid in exchange. Records show that the 7 lobster tails were valued at $83.99 total, and Nichole was charged with theft from a merchant. She was eventually taken to the Volusia County Branch Jail and was given a $250 bail. No punishments were listed. However, this was not Nichole's first time behind bars. She was previously arrested several times for disorderly conduct, domestic battery, and battery causing bodily harm. The journey of a lobster is a wild one, never knowing exactly where they may end up. Lucky ones remain unbound, singing songs about mermaids under the sea, while the unfortunate few who are caught end up on a plate, or worse. The next time you see a lobster, I encourage you to give it a round of applause, for you never know what hardships or tight pants they've been put through.
A round of applause. You know, I'd never heard of that pun, but I liked it. I was thinking you were going to say just give them a handshake was what you were going to say for some reason, because I was just thinking of shaking a cloth. But I liked the direction you went with instead.
Oh my God. So, guys, I had to change things a little bit. As you can see, she was saying she was either exchanging the lobsters for a Chinese buffet or this pain medication that can be addictive. I researched it. I had never heard of that before. But I wonder if maybe at first she was like, oh, I was stealing them to get Chinese. And then she finally came clean and was like, okay, it was to get drugs. Like, I don't know, but they listed it like that in every single article with no further elaboration. And obviously, I don't know if she barters for everything. I just thought that would be a silly way to make it make sense.
I was thinking the bit of having a drug dealer who just gets paid in Chinese food is pretty funny. I like that.
And I took that because of the Chinese food comment mentioned, even though she was wanting that. But I was like, nah, I got to tie this in. I got to tie this in some way that makes sense to me.
I like doing that. I like making it make sense while also still shoehorning the information that you do have.
Yes.
I don't want to like discard that detail and just fill all in other stuff, you know, like let's just have fun and use that somewhere.
Let's use it, why don't we? Because just the idea of trading for a Chinese buffet or drugs, it really just cracked me up.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, there were so many lobster puns, but genuinely, when I wrote that intro, I hate it when I see the live lobsters in the tanks.
Yeah, it always kind of bothered me as a kid, too.
Yeah, I hate it. Oh, you guys are going to have to let me know if you feel the same way, if you think of their lives and what they're going through like I do.
I bet there's a lot of people that have strong feelings against that.
Yes.
Especially probably that listen to our show.
Yes.
If the drug dealer will accept the lobster tails from her pants, then I would say he's a pretty easygoing drug dealer, though.
Totally.
Like Chinese buffet, lobster tail,
Tomato,
that's been
tomato.
warmed in your pants with your loins for a while.
Which, when I first wrote this story, I assumed it was like full jeans, right? Because
Not
shorts,
jorts.
yeah, like shorts, they can fall right out. But anyway, after I had already written the whole story, I finally found like screen captures of the video surveillance. And that's when I saw that they weren't tight against the leg, like really baggy, long shorts that
like
were
Kevin
denim.
Smith jorts, yeah.
Yes. And I was like, why?
I'm surprised they didn't just drop a lobster on the way out the door.
I know. So I'm like, maybe she was wearing some tight underwear underneath those baggy ass shorts. I don't know.
I mean, if it's that premeditated, maybe you did put some long underwear underneath or something.
Right. Maybe.
And you said it was at a Publix?
At a Publix.
Go to the Publix, drop a lobster. You know what I mean? Walk on the wild side.
I really didn't know how to make this backstory. Like I said, it was more difficult. But then I immediately was like, well, duh, just make her barter for everything. Like, just make it extra weird.
Damn, all for lobster. I love just the things that people will put in their pants and think that it's like okay to get away with for later. Because there's just, when it comes to the lobster, I mean, I guess you can just boil it back clean. But it feels weird, you know? It's no longer clean. You probably didn't put plastic bags in your pants to...
No, the hygiene of it all is very disturbing.
Yeah.
And I bet if the drug dealer knew the full truth, and I'm over here saying it was a drug dealer, I don't know that for certain. It could have just been a friend that happened to have that pill that she wanted. I keep saying drug dealer, but all the article said is that she intended to steal them for a friend in exchange for that. And for me, that just makes me think drug dealer.
I guess it could just be an innocent friend exchange. Just like, oh, hey, can you bring a case of beer to my party? I'll get you back with a few lobster tails.
And that was another thing, too. I was like, that is the most specific and weird thing to be like, okay, this is what I can barter with. Lobster tails? What the hell?
There's easier things to steal.
This was a very complicated thing, and that's why I had to bring in One Nut Tony to be the one that demanded it. It only made sense.
He's the type of guy who, he always gets his.
Even with this one nut?
Yes. Well, this week, I don't have anything to do with lobsters.
Oh.
But there may be a pair of pants. But not really. I can't remember if it has to do with anything. But
I mean, most people wear pants.
most people wear pants. So I think that's a connection that we can have.
There's a high probability.
I have a story of Florida proportions today. And it's just about a Florida character that feels so Florida. I don't know how else to say it. Like if Florida could be just an adjective. It's just very Florida.
So this is like quintessential Florida man headline.
Right. And also, it's not a Florida man or a Florida woman. It's a Florida person.
Ooh, even better.
This is my first non-binary criminal at all, but I did see in a lot of the articles, nobody was using the correct pronouns. And honestly, the article that I learned it on still was misgendering, even though they made sure to put a paragraph that explained the non-binary thing.
Oh, wow.
I had to do a rewrite to fix that because I thought journalistic integrity.
Yes.
We got to do the right thing here.
Absolutely.
So without further ado, here is my second installment into Florida February with a Florida person. And here we go. There's a ritual we all perform when leaving home. Packing. Not just packing our things like emergency stool softeners or cherished keepsakes, but packing our comforts, our peace. We don't just pack things, we pack the fragments of ourselves that make us feel whole in the unknown. When I moved to Arizona at 19, my guitar was that thing. At the time, it was my emotional outlet. Whether I was dealing with depression, my dating life, or family arguments, my guitar helped me melodically cry through it all. As I packed to move halfway across the country, I knew that beyond the basics for survival, I couldn't leave without my guitar. And my relationship with it still stands out as a major memory from that time. The things we pack are so intertwined with who we are that it's almost like packing a part of ourselves. We wouldn't move to a new world and leave our head behind. How could we wear hats? For you, it might be your signed set of Twilight books, or the last unwashed socks your ex wore before running barefoot out of your life. These items, however odd or sentimental, keep us whole. Today, I'll introduce you to a Florida person preparing to leave the strange, crime-filled world of Florida behind. Like you, they'll be taking one vital piece of home with them. But in this case, what they're packing isn't just sentimental. It's illegal. Oversized shoes, polka dot tutu, and a prank flower that shoots water. Liliana looked over their luggage, tightly packed and prepared for its trip halfway across the world. Each item was a small piece of the bigger picture. Liliana was preparing for the most exciting show of their life, Clown College. They opened the apartment's window, taking in the meth-scented breeze of generic Florida City.
I'm sure gonna miss you, Florida.
They said to the streets as a gator's wave sent a warm breeze across their cheek.
Tomorrow's the big day.
Liliana popped a Sharpie's cap, marking another square on the calendar, before honking their nose and doing the splits on the kitchen floor. Their decorative tassels and facial piercings jangled with a disco ball effect, reflecting in the Florida sun. Tomorrow morning would mark Liliana's final farewell to Florida as they prepared to start a new life in Australia. After years of entertaining friends and perfecting their bright, eccentric style, Liliana was finally about to enroll at the prestigious Clown Institute of Sydney. They glanced over the local newspaper, the front page splashed with the headline, "Florida mom accused of screwing nail into daughter's buttocks."
I won't be seeing headlines like that where I'm going.
They said with a shrug, whimsically making their way back to the luggage. As they packed their luggage, Liliana carefully reached for one of their most prized possessions, a cat spine. Nestled in its custom velvet-lined carrying case, it was a macabre keepsake that had become something of a talisman over the years. Anytime they felt like they lacked the backbone for a situation, they glanced at their prized oddity, a reminder that they in fact had two. Tucking it snugly between a jar of squirrel feet and found teeth, Liliana wondered what kind of clown they would become. Would they be a mime, or something wacky like a whiteface? A traditional rodeo clown, or straight up creepy? Either way, they knew that when the sorting hat of clown school chose Liliana's fate,
Ass clown!
they would embrace the clown style with play and authenticity.
Get back here, Dickie, so I can burn you with my cigarette!
Liliana's neighbors stopped the daydreaming before it got any further. It was around this time that their foreplay would interrupt Liliana's clown school montages. They were used to it. Distracting, yes, but they knew the playful bouts of domestic battery would be missed once 10,000 miles from a Publix. That's when it hit them. They had packed all the essentials for their big move, things they needed to survive and maintain personal well-being. But what about Liliana's heart? Florida. How could they bring a piece of Florida to a land that doesn't even use the US dollar?
Oh, Florida.
Liliana sighed, running a cloth over the gleaming gold of their Colt 45.
What could I take that would remind me of home? Something bold, something dangerous.
Liliana's focus shifted from their reflection to the weapon. That was it, their golden gun. a regrettable eBay purchase during a GoldenEye obsession. They'd never given much thought to the fate of their bougie pistol until now.
I've gotta take it. Or do I?
They asked the universe.
It can protect me and remind me of home. But is it even legal?
Pacing around the apartment, Liliana sifted through their minimal knowledge of international firearm travel. Finally doing the obvious thing, they Googled it.
Hey Siri, can I have a gun in my suitcase?
No.
Unsure if they could trust anything on the internet, Liliana decided to view this as fake news. The gun was worth $3,000 after all, far too valuable to leave with one of their unreliable Floridian friends. Doing the responsible thing, they locked the golden gun back in its box and promptly set a reminder in their calendar app to put gun in suitcase. The next morning, Liliana woke up and took a deep breath, savoring what little bit of sunshine state they could. They grabbed the leftover Cuban sandwich from the fridge, chewing thoughtfully, imagining the Vegemite sandwich they'd probably be forcing down in Australia tomorrow. With Liliana's travel tummy primed for takeoff, Liliana double-checked their luggage.
Oh yeah!
They exclaimed, checking their phone. There it was, the reminder that was set last night. Put gun in suitcase. Grabbing the small case, they nestled it snugly into the luggage, just as another notification buzzed from the phone.
Ah, my Uber's here.
Leaving their keys behind for their roommate, Liliana grabbed the carry-on backpack and suitcase and rushed down the stairs to the ride. What followed was a heartfelt montage of one Florida person soaking in their final mental snapshots of home. They waved goodbye to Needle Ned's tattoo shop where they got their last 3 face tattoos. They smiled wistfully at the neighborhood sinkhole, comforted by the knowledge they'd never have to dodge it again. A pink flamingo swooped low over the Uber, its bright feathers catching the morning sun, almost as if the spirit of Florida itself was blessing their journey. As they passed an overturned airboat and a man wearing nothing but flip-flops, Liliana whispered,
Goodbye, Florida.
and for the first time, the words felt real. Liliana navigated airport security with a mix of determination and nostalgia, wiping a tear away as they handed their checked bag to a TSA worker who didn't bat an eye at the suspiciously rattling luggage.
Have a great flight.
Reaching the gate, they found their seat and settled in, putting on their custom-decorated headphones, googly eyes bouncing with every movement. As the engine roared to life, Liliana leaned back, gazing out the window at the last Florida sunrise they'd see for a while. 20 hours stood between them and their clown destiny, but for now, they let the hum of the plane lull them into a strange mix of excitement and trepidation. Florida was behind them, and Australia awaited. Nearly a day later, Liliana wobbled off the plane, their legs feeling like a baby giraffe's first steps. They glanced out the jetway's windows, taking in the sight of Sydney's iconic shell-shaped opera house, and a wild kangaroo grazing serenely in the distance. This was it. They had finally arrived in Australia, ready to embrace their new identity as a clown. But as Liliana approached the airport's gate, they noticed a customs officer standing directly in their path, clipboard in hand, and an unreadable expression on their face.
G'day, mate.
The customs officer greeted them warmly.
Are you aware of any prohibited items you may have brought with you to the land down under?
Nope.
Liliana said, eager to find the clown car that will pick them up.
And the gold-plated pistol?
Liliana froze.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
The officer raised an eyebrow, already reaching for his clipboard.
Australia doesn't take kindly to bang-bangs in the luggage,
He said firmly.
You're gonna have to come with me, or we'll be having a yarn about over a cuppa with the judge.
Still too wobbly in the legs to run, Liliana reluctantly followed, mentally preparing to plead ignorance. With each step, they saw a future of giant shoes, wigs, and face paint slipping through their nylon gloved fingers. Could their long, winding road to clown glory be stopped before it even began? Or was this just an irritating fine to juggle alongside actual juggling classes? As they shuffled on, Liliana thought about jail, a notoriously no-clown zone. With the last remnants of Florida's humidity still clinging to their hair, Liliana longed for the lawless warmth of home, a place where stupidity wasn't just accepted, but weaponized. After all, the gun had breezed through Florida's TSA like a beach ball at a pool party. If only the Aussies could be as underfunded and distracted, maybe they'd be living the dream right now, riding dirty with a gold Glock and a koala. Instead, they found themselves walking down a long, sterile hallway toward an unmarked door. The airport chatter grew muffled as Liliana's outfit became the loudest thing in the room. With each step, the weight of their golden mistake pressed down harder, deflating like a balloon animal, slowly losing air. As the officer's hand rested on the doorknob, Liliana caught their distorted reflection in its polished surface. A face panned with equal parts regret and stubborn optimism. a clown of a different nature. The door creaked open, revealing capable professionals prepared to hold them accountable. In that moment, one truth became undeniable. This wasn't Florida anymore. In April 2023, 30-year-old Florida person Liliana Goodson was arrested by Australian customs officers after attempting to enter the country with a 24-karat gold-plated Colt 45 style pistol in their luggage. When asked if they were carrying any prohibited items, Liliana initially declared a collection of oddities, including a cat's spine, squirrel feet, and rabbit urine. However, when asked directly about the gun, their casual response was, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that." Subsequent investigations revealed that Liliana had searched online for, quote, "Can I have a gun in my suitcase?" and even set a phone reminder titled, "Put gun in suitcase." These findings undercut any claims of forgetfulness. During their hearings, Liliana explained they had moved to Australia to attend clown college and that the gun was intended for protection. They further elaborated that they were, quote, "too scared to fire the weapon and would more likely use it to pistol whip a potential attacker." Adding to the absurdity, Liliana admitted they once owned 3 guns but had accidentally donated the other 2 to a thrift store. The trial concluded in true clown fashion, with Liliana performing a backflip before pleading guilty. In December of 2024, Liliana was sentenced to a year in jail with 4 months served in full-time custody for 2 charges of intentionally importing prohibited goods, a firearm, and ammunition. As you can see, you can take the Floridian out of Florida, but you can't take the Florida out of the Floridian. Even on the other side of the globe, it takes Florida no time to rear its mugshot-ready head. Borders everywhere remain on high alert, bracing for the unchecked chaos that is America's most unhinged export. So the next time you pack your bags, whether for a fresh start or just a quick getaway, take a moment to consider the things you carry. The items we choose to bring with us have a strange power to inspire us, to comfort us, and sometimes to pull us back to the places we miss the most. But if you're a petty criminal, those cherished mementos might do more than teleport you back. They might just transport you straight to jail.
I love how I had to stop you in the middle of that recap and say, am I just supposed to ignore that throwaway comment about accidentally donating 2 other guns to thrift stores?
That wasn't in every article. I came across it. It was just one of those things that it seemed like Liliana just kind of said, like in questioning, I used to have 3, but just donated 2, whatever. And it did seem like a throwaway thing from them originally, which then feels like was also just a throwaway thing in the article. So I thought I should probably throw it away too and just put it in there. I mean, it is ridiculous.
It's just very ridiculous. I'm picturing being the person that has to sort through all the donated goods and finding.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. A pistol?
Woo!
I just showed you a picture of Liliana for why you are laughing now.
Yes, Liliana, you probably don't have that southern drawl like I gave you, but maybe because, do you know why I decided to go with that?
Because of NASCAR?
I already shook my head because I was like, you really just don't. That shouldn't have even been a question for you. I'm so sorry. There is a country singer, Morgan Wade. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she's covered in tattoos and her voice sounds like this.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I was kind of trying to channel Morgan Wade because you said tatted up and from Florida, but so sorry, Liliana, if you don't like that accent.
Yeah, I will say there was nothing from Liliana. There's no videos or anything that I could find. So all I have is the pictures and the fact that they admitted to having like a cat spine in their luggage and squirrel feet and rabbit urine.
Yeah, I was going to say this is like seized at the border, like contraband found on the plane or whatever, you know, those shows are. It's like, we got a spine in here, guys. We got, what is that? Raccoon urine or what did you say?
Rabbit urine.
Rabbit urine.
Squirrel feet.
And they're like, what the hell? Here's a gold pistol?
$3,000 gold Colt 45. Then they seem like they just threw away so much information, just gave it all away like that. I mean, why would you even have to say, like, I wouldn't have shot anybody? If somebody would have gotten in my way, I would have just pistol whipped them.
Just shh, Liliana, just shh. You don't need to share any other information, although it is quite funny.
Yes. Also, it said that they planned on keeping it under their passenger seat of their car and that they had hoped that just brandishing it would be enough to scare people away in most instances.
Wow.
But they still weren't okay with it, and now 1 year in jail. Also, I don't know that much about Australian rules, so when it says 1 year in jail, 4 years served in full whatever, I don't know if that means that you can still like get out and spend your other 8 like house arrest or what.
I love that Australia lays down the law for guns. I mean, honestly, I can't be mad about it. I love that.
Yeah, it's a smart way to handle it, and
Let's keep the peace.
and Liliana seems like probably a questionable character, so probably don't want them bringing a gun in.
Right. Like I said, I was picturing being the donation person, finding all that. Now I'm just picturing being the TSA person, going through the luggage, the shit that people probably have to find and look through. Connections.
Yes, so the connection that I can remember is that I talked about Publix. My story was all about just the ode to Florida and saying goodbye, and you have to talk about Publix.
Right.
And it's almost like the Publix that I was talking about could have been the Publix that yours took place in.
Literally, it felt like you were giving a nod to my Publix story out in the distance happening at the same time. That was a really good connection. The only other thing I could think is that, you know, carrying items that you shouldn't have on you. She shouldn't have had those lobsters in her pants. I know that's for certain.
Yeah.
And you can't have a gun on you either. So a gun and a lobster, I mean, both could be used as a weapon.
I've been calling this story The Clown with the Golden Gun for a long time just because it has such a great James Bond kind of feel to it.
Oh, I love that. But yeah, no, I like the Publix. I like that as the connection. I think that's a good one.
I've never been to a Publix, have you?
Yes, I think so. I mean, it's like their main chain store, right? In Florida?
Yeah, I believe it is.
Like one of the main ones. It sounds familiar. And we always had to go get stuff at a grocery store every time I've been to Florida. So I assume I have.
I was not around a big chain Publix, I guess, where I was in Daytona. So we just went to, I think there was a Walmart near us.
There you go. Well, I hope everyone out there is having the best week. And remember, no matter the crime, big or small, in the end, we're all doomed.
Doomed to have ChatGPT know you better than you know yourself.
Bye.
See ya.
Come on over to our Patreon. We'll take anybody, even unmarried women that were once prohibited from parachuting on Sundays.
And do you like putting lobsters in your pants? Find us on social media and tell us about it. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, or Threads.
And has your significant other ever embarrassed you on the ring cam? If so, send us an email and send us the footage. livelaughlarceny@gmail.com.
And give our show the same rating Amanda would give Disney's mosquito surveillance system, 5 stars. Rate our show wherever you rate podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or Good Pods.
You're gonna have to come with me, or we'll be having a yawn about over a cuppa with the judge.
ChatGPT said that's a saying. I don't know. A cuppa? Because it means like a cup of coffee with the judge?
Oh, I was like, whoa, he must have done some research on the lingo.
Yeah, I was like, make this sound more Australian because my accent's not going to.